welcome to another live feed of Rashad YouTube channel. Scared to Feeding Christ Study Bible. Reading about the creation. This is day 2. Reading from Psalm 19 about divine revelation. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. There's no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth. Where's the is of the world? For the sun, just like a bridegroom coming forth from his pavilion. Like a champion rejoicing to run his course, he rises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is hidden from his heat. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. Statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. Precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. Commands of the Lord are ready, giving light to his eyes. For the Lord is pure, enduring forever. Words of the Lord are sure and altogether righteous. They are more righteous precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey, and than honey from the comb. By think of them is your servant warned. In keeping them, there is great reward. Who can discern his errors? Give my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins. May they not rule over me, and I will be blameless innocent of great transgressions. May the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Let's break down divine revelation. God has chosen to reveal himself in 3 primary ways. His first means of revelation is commonly referred to as general revelation, as illustrated in Psalm 19, verse 1. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. The beauty and order of all things created reflect the glory of God. Verse. What humankind discovers empirically through scientific observation is never at odds with divine revelation, since God created what science can only discover and use. Second, God has revealed himself and his plan for the universe through divinely inspired prophets and apostles who wrote the book of the Bible. The written word is called special revelation, which the psalmist refers to in verses 7 through 11. Special revelation interprets, explains general revelation. The ultimate revelation of God, however, is revealed in Jesus, who declared, anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. Divine revelation is considered by Christians to be the sole authority for faith. In fact, it's because the Creator is the only one who can define himself, explain who we are and why we are here. In creation, there is no separation between the secular and the sacred. There are not two realities, but only one reality, and God. God is the Creator, and his word speaks to every central discipline of society. The verse, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It is value-laden with theological and philosophical ramifications. Knowledge of good and evil is an ethical statement, creating the animal kingdom according to their kings. Biological distinction, the declaration that man became living being, speaks to our psychological, spiritual, and physical natures. Command to be fruitful and increase in number, for the earth is subdued, sociological, ecological statement. I command you, and whoever spreads the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. Political and legal statements. God is making a statement of economics. He says, it will be yours for food. It will put enmity between you and a woman. It's a historical and prophetic statement. God underlines the significance of all the above disciplines, revelations of Jesus Christ. Theology, Jesus is all the fullness of the deity. In philosophy, Jesus is the Word of God. In ethics, Jesus is the true light. In biology, Jesus took on the form of a man and became our source for physical and spiritual life. In psychology, Jesus is our Savior. In sociology, Jesus is our example. In politics, Jesus is the Lord of lords and King of kings. In law, Jesus came to fulfill the law. In economics, Jesus is the owner of all things. In history, Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega. That's it. We day 3 tomorrow. I'm reading about the nature of humanity, Psalm 8. Let's get into when March with Madness about the game that transformed basketball. Magic Johnson, Michigan State, Indiana State, Larry Bird. Those are the teams that they played on. Talk about what led to that game. The journey through that season, 1978-79 season. Chapter 8. On the 15th floor of the NBC headquarters at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in New York City, Rex Lardner, NBC Sports Programming Chief, had walked down the hallway to the corner office that belonged to the division's President Chet Simmons. For weeks, Lardner had been reading about the under-the-radar team with this mysterious farm boy superstar who was winning every game and rising in the rankings. Al McGuire, former Marquette coach, had become the network's primary college basketball analyst, was passing along raves from his peers in the coaching profession. Yet Lardner, like just about every one outside the state of Indiana, had never seen Eli Bird play. So he asked Simmons if he could add Indiana State game to NBC's regular season schedule. Simmons gave Lardner the go-ahead. Lardner called Ray Meyer, the coach at DePaul, which he asked for, to let NBC drop a DePaul game so it could cast the Seminoles' regular season finale against Wichita State on February 25th. Over the German, Meyer agreed. For years, NBC had been making a steadily increasing investment in college basketball. By 1979, it was paying huge dividends. The network had built its reputation on the back of John Wooden's UCLA dynasty, which ended with Wooden's retirement in 1975. In 1969, NBC first televised the NCAA championship game, which featured UCLA's star center Lou Alcindor, who would later be known in his professional career as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1975, began televising regular season college basketball games as well. The network's programming staple was its Saturday doubleheader. The first game, usually involving UCLA or Notre Dame, was broadcast nationally. The second window was devoted to 2 games that were aired regionally. The strategy reflected the prevailing sentiment that for the most part, college basketball's appeal was more local than national. But the sport was clearly on the rise. The ascent coincided with probably benefited from a steep decline in popularity of the National Basketball Association. In 1977, NBC added college basketball games to its Sunday afternoon lineup so it could definitely compete with NBA games that were airing on CBS. Twice that first season, collegians beat the pros in the ratings. By 1979, the overall Nielsen ratings for college games were higher than those for the pros. The NBA's television appeal was so weak that CBS's affiliate in Atlanta didn't bother to show the games, even though Atlanta had an NBA franchise. It would benefit us to run them if anybody watched, but our research showed that no one was watching, the station's general manager said. Even the NBA finals weren't compelling enough to be aired live. They were shown instead via tape delay. Many theories were floated for the declining popularity of the program, the different quality teams in the major markets, the lack of a dynasty, but a common explanation was the one cited by, among others, TV writer William Leggett in the October 16, 1978 issue of Sports Illustrated. Still others feel the growing preponderance of blacks on the court is a factor. Fear not, that perception damaged the league, which was already facing financial hardships despite having just absorbed 4 teams from the American Basketball Association, each of which would pay $3.2 million to join the NBA. In 1969, the NBA had been 60% black. 7 of its top 20 scorers were white. 10 years later, it was 75% black. Only 2 of the top 20 scorers were white. Seattle Supersonics forward Paul Silas, who was president of the NBA Association, said in February 1979 that it is a fact that white people in general look disfavorably upon blacks for making astronomical amounts of money. It appears they are not working hard for that money. Another league executive was more blunt. How can you sell a black sport to a white public? In truth, that concern was probably overstated. After all, college basketball was also dominated by black players. But against this backdrop, Bird's race was one more reason behind NBC's decision to broadcast an Indiana State game. The announcement of the Sycamore's fourth quarter national television debut was met with great delight by the people of Terry Hope. The players, for their part, played up their roles as small town cult heroes. The local chorus dealership filmed a promotional commercial which he used the name. So, wait. 1967, the concept was a tribute to Indiana State's seven-man rotation, and the players wore blue 10-gallon cowboy hats for the spot. They kept the hats and wore them everywhere they went. Even the two black stars, Carl Nixon and Albert Alex Gilbert, who presumably didn't see many horses while growing up in Chicago and East St. Louis, respectively, got to the act. We all just kind of copied each other, wearing cowboy hats and boots and tight jeans. We would like to play up to that tough guy image. Games at Home Center had become a real happening. Students were allowed to get in free, but since seating was on a first come, first served basis, they pitched tents, slept outside the arena, slept 7 days in advance at the best spots. The crowd also adopted the previous ritual of tossing sheets of toilet paper throughout the games. It was not uncommon for play to be delayed so the maintenance crew could sweep away the debris. When the games were over, the fans marked the inevitable win with a robust Amen chorus. Just 3 years before, the team had been fortunate to draw 5,000 long fans to home games. Now, Home Center had become a place to be in all college basketball. It was a nice feeling. Steve Rich said, well, you were in a McDonald's or a little restaurant. You signed autographs all the time, thinking, what did they want my autograph for? I'm just a country boy, Warsaw, Indiana. The players had become such celebrities that one day several members of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team visited Holman as part of an off-season promotional tour called the Cardinals Caravan. A group of big leaguers, which include the all-star catcher Ted Simmons, visited Indiana State's locker room after the game and fawned over the players, especially Bird. The little school that once had to ask newspapers to publish the scores would turn away congenital requests due to a lack of space in the press box. The many NBA scouts who came into the town had to be shoehorned to an overflow row of seats located on an upper concourse. One day, Ed McKee's student assistant, Craig McKee, got a call from ticket manager saying that someone from the NBA had shown up for the game, but she was going to turn away because there was no tickets left. What's his name? Craig asked after the call she replied. He says his name is Jerry West. Craig McKee was mortified. The legendary former NBA All-Star, current head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, was having trouble getting admission. Oh, please bring Mr. West in out of the cold and tell him I will find a seat for him. If the players felt any pressure to live up to their hype, they sure didn't show it, probably because the team included a range of helpful characters who kept everyone from taking themselves too seriously. This is Michigan State's had Doran and Payton to make another valuable contribution to team chemistry. The St. Louis had Rick Shaw, was a student manager who doubled as an assistant trainer. Shaw was a guy the players went to if they needed an extra ticket for a game or a place at the training table for a high school life. Around a little bit. Sean Carter, he was a 6'5" senior from Cayuga, Indiana. Had limited basketball skills, but he was an amazing leaper who once high jumped 6 feet 11 inches in a high school track meet. Just based talking about this team, man, how they came into what they were. Such a great story. Terry Hope had the biggest celebrity Bird had ever had. He still felt comfortable spending time. Local haunts, rafters, and by local. By the time NBC came to town for the final home game against Wichita State, the town Terry Hope was in full rapture. Locals interested for a chance to come face to face with their nemesis. Lee Packard, but NBC sensed the situation would be too contentious, so not to send him. The game would be called by Al McGuire and Jim Simpson, the network's elegant play-by-play man. Remember, Jim Simpson was drinking white wine during the production meeting. Craig McKee says, I thought that was so sophisticated, drinking wine in the middle of the afternoon. It was also surprised McKee by friend that he was thinking about leaving see to join a new all-sports national cable network called ESPN, which is launching in the fall. McKee had never heard of it and thought The Simpsons was crazy to contemplate it. There was a huge village that moved through the region before the game, night before the game, shutting down local traffic as well as the Apps airport. Simpson and McGuire arrived a couple of hours before tip-off, went through their usual pregame preparation. Normally they would speaking with all the players, but they were told in certain terms that Bird did not want to speak with them because he didn't want too much attention to be focused on him at the expense of his teammates. But as the players were shooting around, Simpson looked up and saw McGuire talking to Bird at length. Simpson asked McGuire how he got Bird to talk to him. McGuire inquired why I went to all the other guys and talked to him first. That way, Larry knew I wasn't just singling him out. So when NBC finally hit the airways on Saturday afternoon, all the attention segment leading up to the game was released, largely in the form of thousands of sheets of toilet paper poured onto the court like so many snow flakes. Looking in on a very frantic Wide Watch Valley area, since told video reviews about the area of introduction, this is the first time interstate sycamores have been on national television. And they are ready. Are they ready? They think they are number one, and they hope to prove it today. Juicy McGuire Simpson noted how much more popular McGuire had been saying all along that Indiana State deserved the number one ranking. And Terry Holt then paired Billy Packer on the scored a point. NBC showed a picture of the T-shirt many people in the crowd were wearing. Words so old to Billy Packer, printed on the front. The lyrics read in part, "Don't come to our state, we'll taunt you, we'll make you a fool." Here's a Billy Packer. Don't come to our school. The game against Wichita State was not typically on national television. Outside which portions of the country was watching Kentucky play the University of South Carolina, but most of America only got the chance to see what all the fuss was about. The game was more than 7 minutes old. Bird attempted his first field goal, but once he did score, prompting another blizzard of top people that delayed the action he and his mates from running. Over the next 2 hours, Bird demonstrated the full range of his astounding versatility. He hit tough layups inside while fighting between defenders, tossed in hook shots in the lane, made turnaround bank shots from the wing, a handful of mid-range pull-up jumpers. Most amazingly, for the 6'9" center, he sank deep, high-arcing, feathery shots with defenders hanging all over. He was also devastatingly effective from the foul line, where he made 80% of his attempts during the season. Bird also revealed the diabolical competitive streak his teammates had come to know well. Midway through the first half, he had the ball deep in the left corner, fixed defender Eric Kuhn, a 6'6" freshman forward, the ball with two hands and placed it over Kuhn's head. When Kuhn turned around to see where the ball went, Bird pulled it back, becoming nailed a 23-footer. He was so pinned into the corner that the ball had to travel over the corner of the backboard before going in. Do you know how far away that is? That's in left field. McGuire marveled while watching the replay. It seems the further out he is, high percentage there is that he puts the ball in. That's the most arresting aspect of performance that day. Laying what he didn't do. Didn't hold the ball. He didn't chuck up a ton of shots. Didn't dribble all over the court while his teammates stood and watched. When Wichita State little Kroger covered him, which was off, then he didn't force a bad shot. Simply passed, and he didn't do anything to disrupt the flow of the offense. Bird attempted 30 shots, including the ones where he was fouled during the course of the game. On 20 of those attempts, he caught the ball and shot it without dribbling. 6 times he dribbled once before he shot. 3 times he dribbled twice. Only once when he saw the ball under defense and dribbled the length of the court. Left-handed, amazingly enough, did he take more than 2 dribbles before shooting. Bird also showed the same innate gifts that Magic Johnson had when it came to passing. But since he was a center, he operated from a different vantage point. Rather than fire no-look passes in transition, Bird did most of his damage while crouched in the post, where he could spread pinpoint darts to his cutting teammates. Once he got into the lane, he was masterful at depth, shovel passes through interior traffic. Bird was especially effective in the move because he could see openings emerging on all the shifting parts around him. For example, on one possession in the first half, Bird raced into the lane and chased down a long offensive rebound. Leaped to grab the ball and before his feet hit the ground, zipped a no-look pass to forward Brad Miley on the baseline. Because Bird was white and played in the front court and was a gifted passer, many basketball observers compared him to the New York Knicks saw for Bill Bradley. His future employer, Red Auerbach, saw a more apt analogy. He's a big koozie, Auerbach said, referring to Balcony's of fame guard with the Celtics from the 50s. I never thought I'd compare him when see, but Larry Bird has those great hands and great vision. He has a great concept of the game. Indiana State had led Wichita State 48 to 42 at halftime. Strikers managed to stay close for the first 5 minutes of the second half. From there, Bird and Sycamores put it on, breaking open the game with a 15-2 and building a 20-point lead. Simpson repeatedly talked about whether Indiana State was worthy of being ranked number one in the nation. McGuire sounded convinced by what he was witnessing. They're tough. Going to world win at New Mexico, when at Bradley beat the Salukis down in the Carbondale out in Illinois. They beat Purdue by 10 points. They beat Russia. Russia beat Purdue, Notre Dame, and Indiana in November. This is not a fluke. This is a ball club. With about 2.5 minutes left in the Sycamores holding the command lead, decided to move. Bird had scored 45 points. One time out, Will James, the former Aviator All-Star, who had joined, Stab was a full-time assistant, pointing out to others that Bird was only 4 points shy of breaking the Indiana State single-game scoring record that Bird himself had set. I just put him back in. Field goal, 2 free throws later, Bird had his record-setting 49 points, along with 19 rebounds, and Hodges took him out for good. At the game, Wichita State coach Gene Smithson told us that he did not appreciate that move. He's blanked. You know, he probably had the right to be. As the closing seconds ticked away, NBC showed a picture of Bird on Sycamore's bench. The difference between that image and the one of Magic Johnson on the Michigan State bench 3-4 and that was Charles Brown, Kansas, could not have been more stark. Bird wasn't smiling. He wasn't laughing with his teammates. He wasn't saying anything. He simply watched the game while gently thumbing his thin, long mustache. Look at Larry. McGuire said. Larry doesn't have any facial expression. He does all his talking between the lines. And he had spoken loud and clear. The final score was Indiana State 109, Wichita State 84. Sycamores were now 26-0. 2 days later, they were voted number one in both the AP and UPI polls for the first time all season. America had finally gotten a glimpse of Larry Bird, and he had made an impression in more ways than one. All the next week, I got a lot of calls from my friends back in Denver who saw the game, and Bob even says they couldn't believe Larry Bird was a white guy. Despite the tough loss at Wisconsin, Michigan State's ones was greeted by several fans upon their return to Lansing Capital Airport. Draco wasn't a glass and a half full kind of guy, but even he was relatively sanguine about the setback in Madison. So once I finished the season in a three-way tie for first place in the Big Ten with Iowa and Purdue. So in the way, I opened the brackets of teams other than conference champions as 4 years before. The field grew to 32 teams. The first such expansion in 22 years. 79 tournament, including 40 teams. As they expanded again for the 1979 tournament to 40 teams, and first time committee was going to see every team in the tournament. Was to just top 4 in each region. This undefeated regular season, no one ranked Indiana State, who was guaranteed to be in the 40-team field via on a large bid, but like Michigan State, the Sycamores first had to grind their way through the conference tournament as the regular season champs. In the Missouri Valley Conference, Indiana State got to host the 3-day tournament at home and center, and they relished the chance to settle only their second full season as a member of the league. In the first 2 rounds, the Sycamores beat West Texas State and Southern Illinois by 10 and 7 points, but to earn a date with New Mexico State in the championship game. Final against New Mexico State. New Mexico State cruised to a 14-point lead at halftime, but its first defensive possession was stuck out his left hand to reflect a new Mexico State pass and immediately seized his thumb and how Spain wins again. So Bird sat on the bench, his thumb wrapped. New Mexico shaded the lead only 2 points off. Sycamores lead while Bird was out. Bird returned. He immediately sank 2 baskets and coasted to a 69-59 victory that showed it will be just a 16th team in college basketball history into the NCAA tournament undefeated. And the team was presented with the championship trophy. DuBois Staley finally held it aloft, walked across the court, spinning strong with sheets of toilet paper, handed it to Bob King, who pumped his right fist as he proceeded with his left hand. When it came time to cut down the necks, King, clad in white V-neck sweater and black tie, climbed the ladder and snipped the first strand. The win also meant that Bill Hodges was the first rookie coach to go undefeated in the regular season since Lou Rossini did it in 1951, Columbia, 23-0. Mason's reward was just the first piece of hardware a Bird about to collect as the season was winding down. Michigan State was number 2 seed in the Midwest region. This was tough. Not only did the committee put the sports on track, the Oklahoma Notre Dame team in the regional final, but we matched them against the University of Detroit in the first game, assuming the Texans were ranked number 17 in the Associated Press poll. Get by unranked Memorial University in the opening round. Michigan State was ranked 3 spots behind Indiana State in the AP poll, but there was no question who was between the tournament with high expectations. I down one projected the Sycamores as the 8th best team in the field in basketball times. I keep trying to imagine what Indiana State University would do against, say, a big physical team like Notre Dame. The answer is always the same. That's what the Sycamores' 19 great story to be played but not NCAA champions. Conventional wisdom was nearly summed up by Bruce Newman. Sports Illustrated. Indiana State may be the first team ever to come to the tournament, top ranked in both polls, undefeated in 29 games, still sneaking up on people. So I'll be in chapter 9 tomorrow. When March Mad, the game that transformed basketball. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Be back tomorrow. Freedom in Christ Study Bible. Talk about day 3. The nature of humanity, Psalm 8, from the creation. Topic talking about that. Let's go over that study. So I'll be here tomorrow. The nature of humanity. See what chapter 9 from When March Mad, the game that transformed basketball, about Magic and the Spartans of Michigan and Indiana State, Sycamores, Larry Bird. Until then, like, subscribe. Talk to you tomorrow.